Welcome to the very first in-person SYNTHO Podcast. I am joined by my good friend Joe Walker / BYB Coaching. It's actually quite anxious to see someone in real life and sit this close to someone. And we're hoping that the technical setup and everything runs fine. And you've probably seen this guy on my Instagram story if you follow me, doing pull-ups, CrossFit
silly
shit.
Stuff, basically.
I think we should start off, introduce yourself, what you do, and how we know each other.
So my name's Joe, which probably most people who just follow me on Instagram don't actually know because my name's actually on there. So I'm an online coach, PT, and I have been for the past, how long is it now? Because we started last...
Well, I was thinking that today. It's like a year since you jumped
August,
in.
September, around there, maybe just a bit earlier. So basically coming up to a year. I work out of a gym in Handforth.
Which is a place near Manchester for those.
Sorry, I should say that. It's about 15 minutes from the centre of Manchester. Gym group in Handforth. And love it.
Cool. So I'm going to keep my eye on the computer for the guys that are watching on YouTube. And today we wanted to talk about balancing fitness with partying, but I think this is going to be the start of a series of podcasts we do. Mm-hmm. So we need to come up with a name for the podcast we're going to do. But I think we'll figure it out as we go along. Let's talk about the common mistakes you see people making when it comes to balancing the fitness with partying. This isn't necessarily from every person's a DJ standpoint. I mean, just like your casual weekend offenders, because as a coach, you must encounter quite a lot of people that have the best intentions, including myself sometimes, and constantly hit them brick walls.
Sabotage, yeah. So I think it's important to start to determine what you're actually talking about. Is it the people who just go out Friday, Saturday for a few drinks with their mates? Is probably not the end of the world. If we're talking specifically about people who are going out Friday, coming back Sunday afternoon and ruining half the week, that's a bit different. But for the standard people just going out with the mates at the weekend, feel like they're wrecking the whole week. I'd say first of all it's the fear around it. I'd say people go the other way. I think when they first start out on something, they tell themselves that they're not gonna, they're never going out drinking again. They're not gonna have a social life, and it's something they need to do for the next 2 or 3 months or whatever, which we know isn't sustainable. I don't think it's a problem with people doing it too much necessarily at the start. I think it's a problem with people thinking they can't do it, which then creates their own problems. I think allowing yourself that time at the weekend and not being scared of it. In reality, if you go out for a drink on Saturday night, do you know what I mean? You're not gonna ruin anything. But just having that at the start and having things planned. And I think you said in your podcast the other day, actually, if we go back to actually hardcore partying, party when it's a party.
Yeah.
The ones that mess you up are when you sat down on a Friday night, you planned to have a weekend in, and that little voice pops into your head, or your mates text you at 7:30, 8:30. And next thing you know, it's Saturday morning, 10 a.m, and you're still stood in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And you're not planned for it. I think they're the ones that really fuck you up.
Yeah. I think another interesting point to add to that though is that party when it's a party, but when you actually plan to have a party, it's 10 times better because you can look forward to it.
Yeah.
Like I planned to go out Friday with Salvo and Muzz to Duke's, and I'm I'm looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. The actual looking forward to the party.
Yeah, we spoke about this before. It's almost normally better than the actual party kind of thing.
Yeah, it was in that book, that happiness book I read. It's like The Key to Happiness, and it was saying like book holidays way in advance. Mm-hmm. People try and say spontaneity is the way forward, but
you miss out on the enjoyment bit.
Enjoyment.
Forward to it.
Yeah. But I think there's different degrees here we could talk about. Like the minor kind of like the effect. We could also talk about the effects, I guess, of like drinking, like casual drinking Monday to Friday as well.
Yeah, so I guess it all depends how far you go. I think the mindset that most people are in once they have like a bit of something or they go out for one drink, they think, well, I might as well fuck it completely now, whatever. But yeah, we've spoken about this before when it's like, oh yeah, but I only go out Saturday, I only go out Friday night, whatever. But if you take it to extremes, it's not just Friday and Saturday effects, it's then how you react Sunday, how you react Monday, how you react Tuesday. And before you know it, from a few hours partying or maybe a bit longer in case that people watching this over the weekend can then bite into your whole week. And I think that's probably, if we think about tips and ways to combat it, that's probably the first thing I'd say is discipline yourself to. So let me go back to it. It's not necessarily what happens on that night. Going out for a few drinks in reality is not gonna mess you up. It's if you then allow it to creep into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever. So if you can discipline yourself to get straight back on it Monday and get going again, and it's hard, we know it's hard, Mondays, Tuesdays, but if you can get through them and win the early parts of the week, then get back on track straight away, it's not a problem at all. A few extra 1,000 calories in a weekend is nothing.
But do you think if you've had a heavy weekend, then it comes to Monday, do you think it is a good idea to go and train straight away if you've had a lack of sleep on the Saturday night, if not no sleep, and you've been intoxicated, you've not eaten much food? Do you think it's really a good idea to go into the gym first thing Monday morning and do a CrossFit workout?
Again, so it depends at the level you're at. So people talk about balance, and it's a bit of a weird word. Now, if you're trying to be, I don't know, 3% body fat or compete at the CrossFit Games, then you cannot go out Friday, Saturday and get absolutely hammered and let it creep into your week. You simply cannot do that. If you're just someone who wants to feel a bit better, eat a bit better, look a bit better, be a bit healthier, then yes, of course you can do that. Now, if you know, particularly on a Monday morning or a Monday, that you're going to feel absolutely crap, lack of sleep, so a bit dehydrated, not eating enough food, then yeah, going into the gym at 6 a.m. on a Monday and sending it's probably not the best idea. But can you then set up your week so that on a Monday, you know, what's the bare minimum that you'll accept from yourself, or what's the lowest standard you can set that you know you're going to be able to carry out no matter what? On a Monday, it might be a case of waking up 7 a.m. and going for a half an hour walk and do a podcast, coming back, making sure you drink enough water, hit your steps like we said, you know, meditate, yoga, whatever. You can have it that way, and that's still a win, as opposed to turning up at the gym at 6 a.m, getting 10 minutes in and thinking, what the hell am I doing here, going home and reverting back to thinking you fucked your day.
Yeah, that comes down to the point I said the other day about moving the needle forward. Even if you can't be able to do a full-on fucking CrossFit workout, you can still do something.
Exactly, yeah. If you think what's the smallest thing that you can do that is still taking you somewhat close to your goals, or not even taking you closer, just making sure you're not regressing. You know, one is always better than zero. And doing something that either keeps you at that level or reaffirms that that's the type of person you are. You know, getting up on a Monday morning, I know the weather's a bit crap sometimes, but just getting out half an hour fresh air, you already feel like you've had a good start to the week. And fitness doesn't need to be all the time that you're going in and killing yourself in the gym. At the end of the day, we've got to remember why we do it. For the average person, it's to make ourselves feel a little bit better. And what's the smallest thing you can do to make yourself feel better?
Yeah, I always think about that, especially from the Whoop Band, which we should speak about. That for those listening, the Whoop Band is a
con.
Well, it's what are they called again? Like fitness tracker, fitness smartwatch, and it'd often say the recovery thing, and especially after I think, well, when I bought it originally because January. Apologies to the dog barking in the background. The dog never barks, and it's fucking barking during this podcast. Actually, I lie. It always fucking barks. But one thing I didn't take into consideration recording it in this room is it's right below where the dog sits all day, and he fucking barks. But yeah, I bought the Whoop Band in January when I was definitely in my best place ever in terms of productivity, sleep, training, even though gyms weren't open, but training at home. And I thought of the Whoop Band as something I could get that extra 1% out. And I thought, right, I'm gonna give the Whoop Band a go. And the whole Whoop Band, I would say it specialises mostly in recovery. Yeah. Well, it's like one of the best things about strain and recovery. And I was then listening to that though on like Monday. I think one weekend, because I kept it on for a couple of months, it would say like I drank and the recovery is really bad. Then it's like kind of advises you. It'll tell you then when you wake up, won't it? It'll say how well rested you are based on
feeling like a journal.
Based on sleep, strain. You see how it's like your heart rate, isn't it?
Yeah, your HRV and
HRV. And then some days it'd be like, right, it's in the red. So it's kind of saying don't train. I remember once we did a run and it was like in the red when I woke up that day. And it's interesting because it's like thinking, often people say get back in the gym on Monday because then it sorts yourself out. But is there an argument as well for getting straight back into it if your body's not recovered and rested properly? You could actually having a worse net gain after the thing is all done.
Yeah, is it still going to be beneficial? The only thing I think of that, like, yeah, you're not going to go back in the gym and kill yourself, but the trouble I used to have is if I missed a Monday, and it's one of the things I tell my clients is never miss a Monday. And that doesn't mean, like I say, go in the gym and kill yourself, but it's don't miss doing something that moves the needle.
Yeah.
The thing I find is that if you miss a Monday, you sort of, I don't mind, I'll start tomorrow. And then before you know it, if you wake up Tuesday and you still don't feel great, I'll start tomorrow. And it gets towards Wednesday and you're halfway through the week, and then it's the thing of like, you get into that grey area where it's like, oh, I'll start next week. And then the same thing, the weekend comes around and you're back to normal. But you've always got to be smart. I always tell this story about when I was at my last job, and I think I'd just done it's a 14, 15 hour day. I had an hour drive to my work, hour back. And I remember being sat in the gym we both train at now, Total Fitness, in the car park. And it must have been about 8:15 at night. I was knackered. I think I'd had about 4 or 5 hours sleep the night before. Absolutely exhausted. And I was sat in the car park swigging a large Americano so I could go and train legs at 8:30 at night. And I think back now and I'm like, why the hell was I doing that?
Yeah.
Because then in that case, that then has a knock-on effect on the next day and the next day and the next day. I'd have been much better served that night. And I knew myself I'd have been much better served going home, getting some good food, getting in the bath and going to bed. If you never give yourself that chance to sort of get back to baseline, then it is a case of like, is the cost reward benefit worth it? But in that case, it was no. But it comes back to, again, if you're having a few drinks Saturday night and that's it, chances are Monday morning you're not gonna be in that bad of a state. If on the other hand you're going out on Friday and getting back Sunday afternoon, then yeah, but that's a completely different issue altogether. And you can't expect yourself to then be able to wake up Monday and do that. That's a completely different issue.
Yeah, I think it's just stress on your body, isn't it? The stress.
Yeah,
and I think it's funny because I remember when I really became aware of this thing of like, I'm a better training now. If say a day you wake up not slept very well, it's being able to tell yourself, right, I'm best off having a day off here. But then for some of those problems though, it's not just are they ready to train or not? It's the discipline of training even when they feel good. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of being able to distinguish that voice inside your head. Do I not want to train because I can't be arsed? Or do I not want to train because I generally would be better off recovering today? And I think that's something that, I don't know, I think for me, I'll always train if I feel up to it. It's never a discipline issue because I've done it for so long.
But if you think now, so how long have you trained for now?
I know.
Consistently?
8 years or so, I guess.
So this is what I always say to people. So you now have evidence, and you've probably had times when you've gone in and trained and you've realised, and you felt crap and you've realised, shit, that's made me feel worse, I shouldn't have trained then. And you've had times where you've realised, I've just been a bit lazy, I should have probably pushed through. But at the start, people don't know the difference between them two. You've got to almost at the start push through them times when you feel crap. And then if you do, I always say, like, if you go into the gym and then feel better afterwards, it's probably the right decision to work out. If you go into the gym and feel worse afterwards or feel less in yourself, then you probably should have rested. But you've almost got to do the hard bit at the start of pushing through and learning when them two times are. Because otherwise you just never know. And it's always the scale. Some people are just like, they push through and work through anything, which is bad as well. Some people just need a kick up the arse. But you have to gain evidence and data for that first.
Yeah, I think I agree totally. I think when you do things long enough, you kind of trust your intuition as well.
Exactly. It's just about building trust with yourself. But to do that, you have to do it over and over again for a long period of time.
And for the record, I've been to the gym with you and felt worse after it.
No, but I don't mean in terms. I mean afterwards, you're like, you're not going home and say you were ill or something. You're not going home, then you feel even worse. There's actually a sign at my gym on the wall. They've got like logos around. It's like you'll what is it?
It's like you never regret a workout.
The only workout you regret is one you didn't do or something. I've thought like, bloody, I've regretted a few workouts.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, it's just about, and that's like anything in life, innit? I guess it's just about building trust in yourself, gathering data, and then then you'll get to the before, and you'll be able to remember, like, how did I feel before this one? Is this how I felt? Right, and I remember that then. If this is how I feel now, I shouldn't train. You know then when, if you're just being a bit lazy, you just need to push through. And if always, I think as well, a good thing is, even if you ignore that completely, you know, can you just discipline yourself? Can you just tell yourself, I'm going to go to the gym for 2 minutes? In that first 2 minutes, chances are you're not going to do that 2 minutes and then come home. You're always going to then carry on. At the minute with my training, I think like between runs and swims, I'm just like, with swims, it's like, just go and put your feet in the pool.
Yeah.
And then once you start, I'm not going to drive to the gym, get in the pool, and then realise I don't want to do this and then go back out. With running, it's like, get my shoes on and step out the door. Because we all know the cliche, the hardest bit is starting. And if you can just discipline yourself to do that first 2 minutes, if you're still really hating it after them 2 minutes, then yeah, probably I'll go home. But 99% of the times, you're just going to carry on because you're already there.
Yeah, I think personally, the biggest thing that hits me is the sleep. Say I miss out on sleep, even if it's something I've learned over time is, I've actually been on recently when it was dead sunny in Manchester. We went in town just before places opened again, got on it all day, and I ended up coming home. I went to bed at 9. I woke up fine.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because we all know there's not often if you're getting properly at it, you're not going to bed at a reasonable time. And that really made me realise that actually, one sec, it's actually the sleep deprivation for me personally.
And dehydration, yeah.
It affects the sleep away from anything else. Sleep affects massively my productivity, my mood. I think the Whoop Band highlighted that a lot, but in a good and bad way, because some nights I thought I slept good and I actually said on the band I didn't. But yeah, I've noticed more of a time this last year. I think more time sober, realising the effect on sleep and productivity and social, anxiety, just even like the littlest things. I've got more patience for everything.
I always say sleep is the number one factor, the most important thing with our health. The reason being, not because you go through all the benefits sleep gives you, but the knock-on effect it has on other things. You know, you wake up, you're not slept well, your cravings are instantly up. I get more irritable. My recall when I'm trying to think and talk to people, like it feels like there's nothing there. But again, interesting with the Whoop Band. I remember you said this to me. It's like, and this is when I think we both realised we didn't value it that much, because it was waking up saying we were in the red 10% recovery, we slept crap, and it was like, well, still got to get on my day. Do you know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do? I'm just going to call in sick or not go to work because my band's telling me I'm in the red.
Yeah, that was the thing with the Whoop Band. It's hindsight.
Yeah,
and it's the ideal world is that you use hindsight to go forwards, but you know, we all know now it's like, right, go to sleep, and the more pressure you put on yourself kind of makes it harder. I found.
Yeah, the
more attention I put on sleep.
Yeah,
and I bought magnesium supplement and then something else, and you know what? I didn't notice a single difference.
Do you still supplement anything now?
I've stopped taking it, like, because I was in the route to January. I was like, my goal was to maximise the only thing I could get better was recovery. Like, it was my routine, everything was perfect. So I was like, right, if I can get even more out of sleep.
Yeah, we're going to get that 1% from.
Well, the problem is sleep. I always get up and I was going on my phone or my iPad in the morning. Not my phones, I don't charge my phone in my room. But I was going on my iPad a lot, kind of like just switching on and just going on my email or whatever. But yeah, the goal was just to get 1% better with my sleep. So I tried magnesium, but didn't make a difference.
How long did you take that before we stopped?
I reckon a good month. But like now, I'm probably sleeping as good now as it was then. Not that I'm sleeping that good now, but I'm not sleeping any worse or any better. I didn't notice a difference. But then
what would you say is the thing that helps you the most with sleep? Like, what's the one
going off my phone early? Simple as that. Like, I say to everyone that, like, if someone goes, I slept bad last night, and then they go on the phone. Oh, I do it from that all the time. So
I say it to everyone, but I'm awful at it.
I know. But the thing is, I go on my iPad, right? I listen to a podcast on my iPad, and I'll fall asleep with the podcast on, which is the worst thing I ever did, because now I need to put something on to fall asleep. But like, it's so easy to kind of get, even just trying to find what to listen to, it can take 10 minutes. And now I'm so used to it, I don't think I could actually fall asleep in silence again. I probably could, but yeah, going on my iPad, I'm like, don't do it. Check my email. Do you
do that first thing in the morning?
No, not now. I've got the habit of it because of the last week's podcast. When I said don't practice what you don't want to become, I say that everything I do now, I say it to myself. I say it all the time, like 10 times a day. I'm like, go to eat a biscuit, or go
just moving to me close.
Go to check Instagram again. Like, I think to myself, do I really want to become this person? Because if I do it now, I'm going to do it tomorrow. And the first time's always the hardest to stop doing it. But yeah, it was the worst thing I could do is go on my phone before I go to bed. But I charge my phone in here now. Even at this end of the room, if one day I'll do a bit more of a tour of my house, but sometimes I charge it up there, but then when I make a coffee in the morning, it's so easy to check it.
James Clear put a post up this morning about
it's James Clear, the friction
that's actually needed, and that sounds so ridiculous. Like the fact that you will not go on your phone, because for anyone that can't see, it's literally a 15-yard walk to across the other side. But the fact that that's enough to stop you doing it is insane.
Yeah, I think it's James Clear's the Atomic Habits thing with friction. I keep that in mind so much with anything. Like, what I'll do some nights is I'll delete Instagram at, say, my phone, I've set it so notifications turn off at 8 p.m. So what happens is your whole phone locks at 10 p.m, no, 8 p.m. for me. And then to go on the apps, I've got to unlock them. You've got to click, do you want to use this app for 15 more minutes? I've got to physically click it.
Do you want to do it?
Then I can tell myself, fuck's sake. Or you can click ignore for today. So ignore for today happens quite a lot, because 8 o'clock the thing is at 8 o'clock, it depends how busy my day is, but some days I might only kind of stop doing what I'm doing. Not that I go on my phone all day long anyway, but I feel like that time where I think, right, I'm going to wrap the day up now on my phone. Say it's past 7 o'clock and I've only got like half an hour to try and wrap everything up before 8. Someone will go on it after that. But yeah, you can lock, everything locks my phone, and you can just choose what you want to
really
unlock.
good tool, that.
Then in the morning, it's all locked as well. And I've now turned notifications off everything apart from WhatsApp. So anyone listening to this, don't message me on WhatsApp, because the reason I've muted all the notifications on everything else because it's not important.
Yeah.
And I forgot, I muted Messenger like 3 days ago, and I forgot. And every morning I've got like 8 messages on what they're just like link from this person, something from them. Whereas if the notification was on, my attention would be drawn to that in the morning. And they're always pointless things, like, sorry to everyone that messaged me on Facebook Messenger, but they're not like, I will reply to them, but they're not urgent. And by having the notification on, I'm insinuating to myself that it's actually urgent when it's not. WhatsApp can be.
Yeah, they are urgent, but they're not important.
They're not important. Yeah, well, they're not.
You make them urgent.
Yeah. If the notification came through and I was making a coffee in the morning and someone had said, I don't know, like, I can't give an example now, but it's so easy just to be drawn to it. And
it's just habit, innit? It's all it is habit. And I think this all the time, even if like on a Sunday afternoon when I'm trying to like chill out a bit, I'm sat watching TV, I'll have my phone next to me. And as soon as like an advert comes on, my mind starts to wander a bit, I'll just pick it up. And I'll realise I'm sat there scrolling 15 minutes. I'm like, I don't even know what I've looked at.
Well,
but on the same hand, I think in that moment, I can look at my phone, I can't not grab it. But if my phone was upstairs or like you say, like across the other side of the room, I don't want it that bad, because if I did, I'd go and get it. Do you know what I mean? But I don't.
Yeah, it's creating friction. It's funny that I read a thing, like a meme. It's like, we spend our whole weeks looking at medium screens to then spend the weekend looking at a big screen while having a small screen in our hand. How crazy is that?
You'd think we'd want a break from it, wouldn't you?
But like, it's funny because then I told my mum and she was like, well, she does it even worse. She sits on the medium screen all week. Then at the weekend, she has the small screen, so her phone, the medium with her iPad with the TV on, like all 3. And it's crazy. And I was listening to it as well, the Modern Wisdom with the new one with Cal Newport, I think it was. And I was just listening to it thinking, like, we're going to look back in 10 years and say, do you remember that time we used to sit looking at our phones all day?
It's mental.
We're going to say this in 10 years' time. Do you remember that 10-year period? We all spent our days looking at our phones. Like, I actually sometimes feel that my life is not even real sometimes. Like, doesn't feel real now. Because I'm doing podcasts online, SYNTHO's online. Like, I actually don't...
Yeah, when are you ever offline?
My life is like, you do your PTs, you see people, but I live in a fucking bubble, like...
That was interesting on that Modern Wisdom, actually, because Chris, the host of Modern Wisdom's really good podcast, Chris Willex, he asked Cal Newport, because obviously it's like, if we look at it now and how bad it is now, we think, well, it's going to keep getting worse and worse. And Chris asked him that, I said, where do you think we'll be in like 10 years? But Cal seemed to think that we'd revert back, didn't he? He said, we look back at this time like, what the hell were we doing? Not the screen time and what's going to increase. I think he said we'll all eventually have a sudden realisation that we are wasting our time and wasting our life.
Yeah, I think, was it that podcast? It says, like, do you think you're going to lie on your deathbed and think you regret spending time on your phone? And
100%.
I generally think if I'm going the way I'm going now, I will regret my life the way I'm on my phone so much. But like, I'm nowhere. People watch this are probably way worse than me, but I'm very aware of what I'm doing. But I just can't get away from it. But it's worth bearing in mind, everyone listening to this. Hopefully I don't go on about phones too much in these podcasts, but it's genuinely a problem which I think more people need to be aware of, is that the companies spend millions of dollars to get you addicted. It's not our fault. Like, I know it sounds like an addict. It's not my fault. It's not our fault. Like, there is tools in place, like the slot machine. If you've not watched what's it called? There's a Netflix in it, the social dilemma. Yeah, that tells you about it.
Sneaky that in it.
But yeah, the odds are stacked against us.
Yeah, these trillionaires, billionaires, these people who write code in Silicon Valley, if you think you're going to be able to outsmart them or simply choose not to go on your phone, everything, it's like on that references, done it, you think you're choosing what to do when you're on your phone.
You don't.
You're not. You're getting sent in different directions.
Yeah.
And everything based on what you click or like how long you read something for. It's all logged and it's all data, and you've got no chance of beating it unless you've got... It's not a clear system, is it? But unless you leave your phone away for certain periods, like you're not going to win. You will lose. It's impossible not to. I think people have this all the time. People beat themselves up. God has caught them off the phone. Like, that's the idea.
Yeah.
That's the idea. Well, and like, it's not, like you said, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to try and do things to sort of, to improve it. Yeah,
not to go too deep into what I'm going to say now but I've very much realised that since investing in stocks and shares and crypto, when you refresh your page on your account, it gives you the numerical sum of where your stocks are now worth. Mm-hmm. And I have actually noticed the feeling is the exact same checking Instagram. Like, it's the same feeling deep down, even though one's worth money, but the dopamine hit is the same. And they've created a slot machine system like that is explained very well in Social Dilemma, that I have the same feeling checking my stocks and shares, which is numerical value, which is money I actually have, as checking Instagram. The feeling is the same of reward, whether I like it or not, and it is the same.
The guy who said he invented the infinite scroll.
He regrets it, don't he?
Yeah, so it's the biggest regret of his life. I think the guy who invented the like button on Facebook, like I think it's his kids, or it's Steve Jobs' kids that like are not allowed, like they do not have social media.
Yeah.
Because he knows, and they've designed it this way. They know how like damaging it can be.
Oh shit! I need to charge the laptop.
Going back to sleep, which I think is how that started. I think improving sleep, the most important time for your sleep, I think, is that hour and a half before bed. I think there's such a big thing on like morning routine and set up your morning right, but it's I can't remember what it was, but it said it starts the night before, doesn't it? It starts with the night routine, and that hour and a half or 2 hours before bed, that is the thing that affects your sleep the most.
Yeah, I think for me, my ideal situation is that this is my ideal. What I would, if someone said to me, "What do you do in the evening?" And I was lying to them, and I was like saying what I actually wish I'd try do it is go for a bath, like watch a podcast or something like that. Because I've got my iPad, I've got like a little stand, I can watch a podcast, then do some reading, and that's it. There's no screen time after that.
Yeah.
And use a point, like a checkpoint. So like going for a bath for me is the checkpoint in which I switch from the day to the evening.
Yeah.
And it's having that. Or you could go for a walk. You could do something like at one point that, because it's not easy just to go, right, I'm done now, phone goes there, and then you just sit there watching TV or reading a book. Like you need a point where like this is it now, the day is done.
Yeah, because I think as well, I think people see like phones as like relaxation time, but if you think of it from like a cognitive standpoint, it's not relaxation because you're so like mentally stimulated like every time refreshing stuff. I think what you just said there about like signaling the day's end, I imagine people are really having this issue at the minute with majority of the country still working from home. Normally you've got to drive to work. Right, that signals the start of the day. You shut your laptop at the end of the day in the office and you drive home, and that signals the end. Where now, if you're working the room next to you, you're already home, I think it becomes more difficult to actually know or to separate the different times between work and play or work and rest or whatever. So you do really need to try and have something like you say, if it's a bath or whatever, that signals that stop.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's so easy just to stay there and continue working and make excuses.
Yeah, and what Cal Newport was saying as well about the fatigue you get from this constant circle of refreshing email. And I've only just become aware of the fact that I've been getting super tired, like in the afternoon. I know it's natural, your circadian rhythms, to get tired in the afternoon.
Cal said about 2 or 3 p.m.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, what if this is because I'm checking like email, Facebook, Instagram, email, like crypto, trading 212. Like I'm checking so many fucking things. You know, I'm finding a new thing to check. Then I'm looking at like houses on Rightmove. That's another refresh. Like there's constantly these refresh buttons. Then I've got the Skiddle link for the tickets. Then I've got like check WhatsApp to see with Kurt if we've got this. There's different things that I've said this. I could spend all day, every day, going on a loop, and I'd be fine.
Right.
But then I'm thinking, because I'm doing these, even though I think, like I'm not actually doing anything right now, it doesn't matter if I'm checking things, but that tiredness of like that half a second where you wait for the refresh, like that's tiring me out, surely.
It's excitement as well. It's like, oh shit, what's going to pop up? It's nervous energy.
I'd never thought about it like that. The fact that could actually be fatiguing me mentally. And then just imagine you had no phone, like you'd have nothing for hours. Because I think by the time it's 10 a.m, I've been for a 5k walk and I go to the gym every day. But that sounds like them two things on their own, like it's still getting a lot done. I've also fucking checked Instagram 20 times and my email, you know, like the amount of shit I've actually done that time. Yeah. I've done 2 things, but I've actually not. I've checked fucking 1,000, like this morning, I downloaded tomorrow's podcast. I was messaging the editor about like putting it out today, then just chatting other things. Obviously that needs to be addressed, them issues, but when you think about the amount of stuff you're actually doing on that phone, going from there, the message to that, to this, to that, downloading, uploading.
Yeah,
and
it's all taxing, isn't it?
Yeah, and by like yesterday I had to ring PayPal, I had to ring the orthodontist and ring, what else was it? Parcel Force to get some fucking parcel. Like there's so many different things.
It's continued open loops as well. Until you've done them,
continued things, and it seems like, but then I guess like people, it always amazes me that I think it's kind of backwards the way, this is kind of a big point, this is going off on a tangent, that the typical day's work is 9 to 5. Like I just don't think it's an efficient way for people to work. I think doing these big blocks of time is like tiring as fuck. And like when I work being self-employed, so are you, I'd be interested in what you think of this, that I don't think people work good in that like extended blocks of time. And when I know people in these desk jobs, they spend half the time on the phone because it is hard. I know the phone's tiring, so it's kind of contradicting it, but it's a long period of time, isn't it? From like 9 to 1 p.m. to be like stuck in doing work.
I guess as well, if you actually work out how much during that time you're actually
working,
doing work. Looking out, we say Cal Newport again. He might as well go on this podcast. But what's the formula he has? Well, like work output is intensity times time.
It's the intensity times time. So I always say with music, like you can make music for 40 hours a week, but if you've got no intensity in them 40 hours, it doesn't result in anything. And like the better I've got, I've realised that I don't need to make music much. I just have to do like yesterday, intense day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a better way to do it, I don't know about time scales and whatnot, would be like short, like intense flow state, 45-minute blocks, 50-minute blocks. Because if you really think, even when you're in love with something, you really enjoy your work or whatever, how long can you actually focus on a single thing for? No matter what that is, and you'll start to feel yourself, wearing or thinking about other things. The amount of time that is, it's not that long. And to expect like companies to be able to work from like say 9 till 5.
It's crazy.
It's just not efficient for them either.
No, I think what the interesting point is, if I took on an employee now, I would not employ him to sit in an office 9 till 5.
Yeah.
I would say, I need this doing this week, do it in your own time, but like block it off. And Naval talks about it a lot. It's kind of like a dream world, but by paying people for like an X amount of time, it has kind of no incentive to get a job done. And it's kind of a dangerous trap, I think, because you kind of just sit there and like Parkinson's law, innit? And just falls at the time.
Yeah, how much time you allocate to something is how long it will take.
But it's an ideal world. And
Dad always says that about like, it's like tradesmen and stuff. He says like never pay them for like per hour or like time. He says pay them like,
for the job
done.
And that's like what I ideally want to do with like when I'm looking for the editor for this. It was like, this is the job. I don't want it to say like, I want it to be as good as possible. If it takes more time than like what we kind of penciled in, then it takes more. It's hard. It's a hard one because I want this job done. It's a hard one. I think it's.
Go on. So I think going back to Cal again. I think he said the other day. Then he asked a question. He was like you're speaking about productivity, and he said, if you were a mad scientist and you wanted to come up with something that was not to take over the world or anything, but to halt productivity and make things harder, what would you come up with? And the thing you'd probably come up with would be social media. If you look at things like if you wanted to induce burnout or if you wanted to reduce a low quality of work, what would you do? You'd probably get someone to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day straight staring at a screen. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Well, I just know if I had to take on a full-time employee, I would be like, I think it was the podcast with Tim Ferriss and the guy that made Ethereum, not the guy that made Ethereum, but someone affiliated with it. And he was talking about how he thinks the world will end up. And he thinks it'll end up like everyone has their own skill and jobs just pop up on your desk each morning and you just take that job. You know what I mean? So like,
I remember that back on.
So people wouldn't go to a job, right? You just have like this kind of like, this probably sounds so far-fetched to people that can't get on board with this, but when it starts to make sense, because things like Fiverr, that platform, or Upwork, you find people who specialise, everyone's got their own little thing they do. Like everyone listens to this podcast, I'd say majority, 90% have got a job. Like it's doing something, whether it's recruitment, whether it's doing sales. You technically don't need to work somewhere. You could do that yourself. You're just working on behalf of someone else. And he says in the ideal world in the future, everyone will just have their own thing they do. And jobs will just pop up on this list. Almost like a taxi driver. You'd be like, there's a job here for this X amount of money. It'll take this, like, you've got to have this skills, and you choose it or not. And that's the world where everyone would be. It's like it's a decentralized world, which is kind of going far-fetched here, but it's like, it kind of makes sense if you can kind of get your head around it. Some people probably think we're chatting absolute shite now, but it kind of makes sense because it's what almost I was doing before SYNTHO. I was just doing lessons. It's almost like someone posted, I need teaching this. Who can do it? And there might be a list of teachers, and they say like, I'll do that. Or there might be like you'll just see a guy needs this, and you like a PT session, and it's almost just like this thing where who knows how it'll materialize. But if someone said about Uber 10 years ago and 20 years ago, you'd be like, that's not even never going to fucking happen. But it's kind of this thing where people just work for themselves. I think more and more like Uber, Deliveroo, it's just kind of these things where something pops up, you just do it, and it's done. And it's not this 9 to 5 kind of mental fatigue. And
no, I think especially during lockdown as well, I think people, the way generations are going on, the type of thoughts people are having, I don't think 9 to 5, the standard way of it, will be around much longer. I think the idea of, from like reading about and stuff, the idea of now is like to work harder to get more is losing its way of it. We know now it's not the amount of work you do, it's the quality of it.
Yeah.
How much intensity you can bring to it. I think in the next few years, I think we'll see that drop off. There's even big things now about like going down to a 3-day weekend and stuff. I don't think it's far away. And even having people not come into the office, obviously this has never happened if it wasn't for COVID and whatnot. But I think even things like that, companies are realising that there's more efficient ways to do things. But it takes something big like COVID for you to realise. It's so easy to get trapped in your way, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Adam Grant, who's a professor at Harvard or Wharton or something like that, he put a status of a day, and it was meetings have increased by 40% due to COVID. And part of it is because, I think Carl spoke about this again, he was saying that people now just make Zoom meetings. You just have a Zoom meeting.
Because it's easy.
And there's no
there's no friction.
There's no friction, there's no repercussions of, if I ask you to come out to my house for a meeting,
we have to plan it out and block it out.
And also, if you turn up here and I have no substance for the meeting, you'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing, wasting time?" But it seems like a viable thing to do is just have a meeting on Zoom. Well, example is like hide and seek festival. Like now we've not done it. We always have substance in the meetings, but we could easily now. There's no friction to say let's have a Zoom call later. But whereas before COVID, it has its pros and cons because it's so good now.
So accessible.
I don't have to drive to Manchester to go and chat to the guys I work with. But yeah, we can just jump on Zoom. But if I got to town and we had nothing to speak about, it wouldn't happen. But it's like a two-way thing. And Adam Grant said there's been like a 40% increase in meetings, but 20% decrease in productivity. And it's showing people are talking about work, not doing the work. It's crazy. Like talking about the task at hand, but not actually doing the task.
It all comes back down to friction, doesn't it? And so, going away from meetings, it's just how can you make the things you want to do or you need to do easier, and how can you make the things that don't serve you or you don't want to do harder. And that's I'd say that's probably what everything comes down to, really, isn't it? Any type of goal we have or any type of looking to be more productive, it's them two things. How can you make the things that serve you easy to do, and how can you make the things that don't harder to do? Yeah, effortless. There you go.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. We'll come back to sleep, and I think this whole. Oh no, here's one thing. I've always said, like, since the pandemic started, I think there's going to be like a workplaces are not going to need as many staff because more stuff's going to be online. Not as many people are needed. Like I've seen like people.
They probably realise that with furlough. It's like we've got 2 staff and we're still getting the same amount of work done.
And I think there'll be now a rise of there's a gap now for the people that can figure out the next step of the production line, like how we can make this efficient. And Carl said it about the Henry Ford production line. When it first started, it took 2 years to get going.
Yeah.
And the moment I've experienced this with WhatsApp, right? Instant messaging is not efficient to anyone because it distracts you all day long. But there's going to be a way we figure it out. And he talks about scheduled messaging, which is definitely better. But it's also kind of like, if I said to you, like, Joe, don't message me until this time, it's like, you'd be a bit like, all right, pal, like, do you know what I mean? It's a bit aggressive. But it's trying to find its next step because
he said not to have automated messages.
Yeah, emailing is good and instant messaging is good because you can get answers quickly, but it comes at a cost of concentration and deep work.
You bet if it costs 5p per character.
I think that makes so much more sense.
I think it's a really good idea, especially with email.
I think email should cost 5p. If you had to pay 5p for an email, that slight bit of friction would make you think, do you really need to send this message to me? And I actually think now, I read some messages. And I think, like, when someone sent me a message, and I think, did he really need to send me that message? I don't reply sometimes.
And you're really good at that. I remember when you first told me you were starting doing that, and I know now, there's very rarely we, like, message now when it's
pointless
like,
chats, innit? But it shouldn't, but if someone says, like, I also, like, it depends what day it is. Some days I'm like, I'd love a fucking, procrastinating chat. Like, there's nothing better. But I think, well, a good example is, say we've got to record this podcast. It's funny because we wishy-washy it to begin with when we're going to do it. Then I went to you, because we said, can we do this day or that day? And then listen to that podcast. I was like, right, I'm going to say to you, is Wednesday 10 good? And then we just said yes. But if you kind of say, when can you do it? Then you'll say, well, I'm free. The open loop goes back and forth. And now what I've done is I've created a template in my Notion, which is the details of the podcast. So it's going to be the same thing in it. Like when I do them online, it's like how we're recording it. And it's like the same question's going to happen every time. I'm going to copy that. And I'm also going to make a template saying, hi, mate. The podcast, can you do this time or this time? I'm going to do the same time every time. So it like limits it. They can't do them 2 times. They're either going to say yes or no. And it says no, it opens the loop back up. But the chances are they're going to say yes to one of them times.
I think with the messaging thing and being like straight to the point and abrupt, I think people get scared that they're coming across as rude or being short. I had someone the other week message me and just responded like yes to like a crazy, isn't it? That like
yes sounds rude.
Yeah, and no, like no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
She put in the morning. I think she was probably stressed out or whatever, and she replied to a yes or no question with no, and she just literally put no. And then like late that night, she was like, "Sorry for being short with this morning." I was like, "I wasn't short. That was just like the answer like I needed." Yeah,
I feel like I can be abrupt with messages sometimes now. When I look, I think if someone
people very quickly get used to it.
I know. I think if someone messaged me like I messaged them, I would maybe I'd think they were rude. So anyone thinks I've been rude to them on message, I just can't. Sometimes it's because I'm moving around, but I think like no is a complete sentence. And being able to just say, But I don't. If someone asks me something, it's not like a no. But sometimes it'll just be like I don't know. It's just
There's way too like yeah, sure, like no, sorry, I can't do that, mate, or whatever. Yeah. But not like just no full. I don't know. But I think they'll only think it's rude if all of a sudden you go from there's a thing you can go from being open to closed, but you can't go from being you go from being closed to open, you can't be open to closed. So if you're always like responding straight away to messages, you respond within a minute to each message, you don't leave people on read, you answer with loads of fluffy paragraphs and whatever. If you then all of a sudden go to saying no or reading and taking 2 days to respond, everyone's like, what's up with him?
Yeah.
But on the same hand, people very quickly get used to that.
Yeah, that was the thing as well with like turn notifications off. People get you're used to it really quickly.
Yeah, but on the same hand, I don't know if anyone
cares either. No one actually gives a fuck.
No one expects that. I have things, so I do my check-ins on a Friday night, Saturday, and sometimes like the odd time, like it'll be late Saturday afternoon if I'm busy or whatever, or won't be able to get back to Sunday morning. I say I'm so sorry for that response, and they're like, "I'm stupid." Like it's generally no bother. Yeah. And I'm the same. People reply to me like, "I'm sorry, I've took so long to reply," but I'm not sat there thinking like, "Why have they not replied yet? Why have they not replied yet?"
Yeah.
So I think you have this idea of what other people are thinking. It's completely warped. Everyone's got lives going on, man. Do you know what I mean?
I say that to everyone. Everyone is right. I think it's funny the expression that everyone's just pretending they've got their lives figured out. I can't believe how true it is. I can't believe how true it is. People now have an illusion I've got this all figured out. I've not got a fucking clue. I'm just recording this podcast now, trying to pretend I know what I'm doing and like where I know. Someone said yesterday, like, where do you see SYNTHO going? I reply like, I've not got a fucking clue. Like,
I don't know what
I do to an extent. Like I said in the last podcast, I had a plan and executed the plan. Yeah. But like in reality, I still had no fucking clue the whole way. It wasn't like I woke up every day like I know what's going on here. There's doubt and like everyone's got doubt. Everyone has anxiety. Everyone has nerves. No one actually has a fucking clue. And
I say this all the time. So when you're in like you're in year, even like going back as far as year 2. And you look at year 6s and you're like flipping out, they're growing up, they've got life going. You get to year 6, you look at year 7s, you're like, bloody hell. You get year 7, you look at 6 formers, and it's this continuous thing. Yeah. I said to my parents through the week, I was like, do you feel like adults? And my mum was like, what do you mean? I was like, because I used to look at, I'm 24 now, 25 in August, like, when I was 16, I'd look at 25-year-olds and think,
that's it.
Okay, now he's growing up. Do you know what I mean? I bet he's got it all figured out. Yeah. And I'm here now, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I said to him, you get to a point where you feel like, right, I'm adult now, like I've got responsibility. And he said, not really. I think everyone's just taking each day as it comes kind of thing.
I think the only way I think
things like buying a house and, having kids and like it forces you to grow up a little bit quickly and you got more responsibility. And maybe that's all it is, just a greater feeling of responsibility.
I think security could make you feel like you've got it figured out a bit more. Mm-hmm. I think for me, because it's all new with what I'm doing right now, it feels like every day is completely different, Like I'm doing something different. I'm recording the first podcast. So I woke up today with the kind of anxiety of like, shit, am I going to be able to set it up properly? Is it going to record properly? Fingers crossed it does. I think like, because every day is so different, it's one of them where it's like, it's kind of natural to think you've not got it figured out, but I think everyone's the same.
Yeah. I think, because I get people all the time, it's a tangent, but people are like, how you so positive all the time? How you always like got stuff going on and figured out? It's like, not at all. I think as well, that's probably the thing with, everyone on social media, especially with you, only ever sees you, when you're doing stuff, you're out, you're at the gym, like walking or whatever, making videos, doing podcasts. But even though like you feel probably you're on social media a lot and people feel they see a lot of your lives, it's still a minuscule thing.
Well, it's funny because I feel
still
like
a really small percentage.
You said last week that we were chatting about like things I could do in the future and this channel in the future, and you said like I do like, because things like this, it's kind of showing more of me as a person and real stuff. So it's not just that SYNTHO like guy smashing videos out or whatever, like what he said. But it's so funny because deep down I feel like a waste man. I feel like I feel like I get fuck all done. I feel like I do fuck all.
I know.
I feel like
that's so dangerous though, isn't it?
I sit around all day thinking I do fuck all, and everyone else thinks I'm some like I think they do. Like it comes across that people think I'm this productivity, like book reading. And honestly, I just sit on the sofa some afternoons doing fuck all, and I'm like,
I think that's the trap in it. I think we're moving away from it now, but we sort of measure like productivity or our worth about how run down we feel, or I ticked off 20 things off my to-do list today, regardless of whether or not that moved the needle.
Yeah.
You could do one thing that's better than doing 20, but I think we measure if we only do 2 or 3 things a day that are really beneficial. We'll get to the end of the day and be like, not done much today,
Yeah.
But like, why are we doing it all?
Well, it's that daily highlight. What do you need to complete today that's going to bring that most reward? Mm-hmm. And I think one thing I'm very aware of now is like what leverage I can use to like.
What's the highest leverage activity?
What's the highest thing? What can I do today? Like in reality, this podcast is going to be. This is going to bring a lot. It's going to be more stuff to view. Blah blah blah. Introduces you. This is going to add a lot to the whole ecosystem of moving the needle forward. So I could technically sit on the sofa and do fuck all the rest of the day, but you could argue this 2 hours, whatever it's going to be, is like just as a full week's work. You know, like if you actually saw the monetary value this could bring. Not, it's hard. It's hard
No, I get that.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, yeah.
People could, like, we could spend all week doing the wrong. I could work 9 till 10 p.m. every day this fucking week and not record this podcast.
Yeah.
I could write about the podcast. I could write a script. I could prepare records for a podcast. I could do loads of things.
2 hours setting the camera up.
I could set the camera up. I could do test runs. I could do work all week, right? 9 till 10 p.m. But like nothing could be. The leverage is none. Like this is bringing something into it. It's gonna be more viewers, like more. I can share clips. This Instagram. The actual leverage of this is so high.
And the stupid thing is, doing that 9 to 10 hours a day, doing what is essentially nothing, you probably feel like
I do
less
more.
of a waste man than
So it's
so hard to break that trap.
But being able to get on the mindset of like people watching this, it's not about how many hours you do. Obviously, it sounds like a dream world. People might be thinking like, "Fucking hell, it's easy for you to say." But it's because I'm in a fortunate position where I can pick what I do each day, but everyone can pick what they do each evening, each weekend, and it's being able to.
We've got to remember sometimes it's hard for people that are 9 to 5. Like we've got.
It is hard. It is fucking hard, but it's been able to. I wish I realised this when I had less time. That picking the task which you can leverage and get the most out of. It's not about getting home from work and doing 10 different things. All you might need to do is go and do one good workout. Yeah. That might be all you need to do that day. Do the workout. Don't try and do the workout and then think because you went home and I don't know. I can't think of an example now. But
sat and watch TV for 3 hours.
It depends what you think.
I think that's why on that point specifically. I think that's why morning routines are such like a big popular thing because you get up and you do it in the morning. You have like a list of I don't know two or three things that you think I'm going to do every day, and if I get them done, then no matter what happens for the rest of the day, I can classify my days as success.
Yeah.
So as long as you have like one thing that you just need to non-negotiable you do every single day that you can sit back and think, no matter what else happened at work, no matter what else happened in my other life, with family or whatever, what went wrong, at least I got that done. And you can still feel good about yourself.
Yeah, I think the power of realizing what brings the most reward is like essential. I didn't realize this for a long time that it's not about
Don't be a busy fool.
Yeah, it's not about being busy, man. Like it's so easily done that I've done all this XXX today. But like so yesterday I did like all those things I was saying, like rang PayPal, rang Parcel Force, rang this, did that, did this. Like I'm doing a podcast today. What's going to bring more return? The 2 hours this or yesterday's? Obviously, it had to be done. The test had to be done. But like, I actually felt very productive yesterday because I did all these little bits and bobs.
But what did it actually do for you moving
forward?
Yeah,
exactly. The needle did move forward because I've worked on a track. But the actual to-do list yesterday was dead long. But then today's...
Do you get with to-do list? I used to do it where I do my to-do list, I do it rapid, and then I think, okay, I need to have more.
Well, no, what makes me laugh about the to-do list is when you actually make a list, it's so easy to get it done.
Yeah.
But whereas like if I don't make the list and I kind of just go between all the tasks, it can take all day. I know the Parkinson's Law thing again, but...
It's tiring, isn't it? Thinking about what you should do
But
next.
when you start realising that all I have to do is call... Because I hate fucking phone calls. Like, I hate... Like, believe it or not, I fucking hate phone calls.
Maybe that's when you know you're an adult, when you can like ring the doctors from it or ring a dentist and you don't mind.
I just think I'm going to do a vote on this Instagram story. Right, what do you need to ring me about that you can't voice note about? Voice notes are so much more efficient because I can do what I'm doing... Like, I know, I guess it comes down to your multitasking, but I could be walking somewhere while doing something else and voice note it. And I feel like then it's easier to kind of think about what they're saying. I feel phone calls are so, like, I'm going to call them out here. Adam Bassoon rang me on Sunday, and he tried to ring me on Saturday. I don't do phone calls. Anyone tries to ring me, I don't answer my phone. I don't answer my phone unless it's with my family. I'm not answering the phone because, like, nothing can be that urgent. If it's that urgent, they'll ring me again or they'll text me saying ring me. I think he did text saying ring me.
I was that with unknown numbers. It's like, should I ring them back? Well, if it was that important, would have left me a message.
So, Baz, don't think he'll be listening. I'm sure someone will tell him. He rings me, then he rings me again on Sunday. And I'm like, right, what? And the last person I need to speak to on a Sunday is Baz. Because the thing with Baz, anyone that doesn't know Baz, I'm going to get on the podcast one time. He's funny as fuck. I was like, what could he possibly want? What could he possibly want? So anyway, he voice notes me like, hi, Mr. Hard to Get. I'm like, fuck's sake.
Oh, no.
Will you come and DJ at his girlfriend's party on the Friday? With 2 minute long voice note to ask him that one question, basically. And it made me laugh because it supported the exact reason why I don't answer phone calls. Because I would have been
dragged out for 20-minute conversation.
I'd have been put on the spot and I wouldn't have I would have probably made something stupid up, like, or I would have committed to it without like really thinking through. And it's like Friday night, you've got to value time off these days. Like that's one thing as well. I really value like the weekend and choosing what to do. And I said like, oh mate, I had plans for Friday. I've got plans anyway.
I was going to say, what did you respond?
I've got plans, but I think I just said to him like, I've already got plans anyway, and I don't want to commit to DJing someone's party because then one, I'm stuck on the decks all night. Like two, the equipment. Like there's multiple reasons.
There's a lot that goes into it.
And it's not just like I don't want to get be tied down to DJ until 6 a.m. on Friday night.
It's so easy to say yes, isn't it? It's so easy to just keep taking stuff.
It's funny because this takes us full circle back to start a conversation. It was like I didn't want to go on to DJ there and then be hungover all weekend for something I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to do. And if that had been a phone call, I would have probably been I would have said yes and then been like, why did I just say yes? Or I would have said no and like, you know when you panic and say something stupid. But like in reality is I've got plans on Friday and maybe on Friday I'll feel like doing it. But I didn't want to commit a week before. That's also the thing with this fucking pandemic. You've got to book 5 weeks in advance to go for a pint. You know, like, it's crazy. I know we talk about the looking forward to thing, but something so minor like going for a pint with your mates, it's fucking annoying having to do.
They say they don't know like sales. Like I can't remember what book I read it in, but it was like the chances of converting a sale on a phone call or in person compared to on a text or an email goes up like exponentially.
Really?
People struggle so much to say no.
Yeah.
A really powerful thing if you can, I know it's awkward, I'm terrible at this, but someone asks you something face to face, it's like, even if you don't have a calendar, just say, just let me check my calendar, I'll go away and get back to you. At least then you can seriously think about, I've actually got time for this, do I want to do this?
Yeah.
And you can reply and text or whatever, because, I mean, it's easy for me to say, like, no is a complete sentence, but it's so difficult saying no to someone.
Yeah,
especially when it's face to face.
I really learned this with the mix thing and podcasts and remixes. People ask me like, "Will you come and do a mix for me? Will you do a podcast for me? Will you do a remix for me?" And obviously that's time, I guess. Like it takes time out of my life. And sometimes I've either not got enough capacity to do it, or it's not really right for me. But then when I realised just saying like no, like, and then being able to say it politely.
Do you think you're in a position now where you're able to do that though?
Yeah, I say it night. I know for a long time though. I've been because like mixes, man. Like if someone. When you and me, I wouldn't ask a DJ to come and do a mix for me that don't really know that I wouldn't do it because I know how much time mixes take. They're fucking annoying. Like, I hate doing podcasts anyway, like DJ mixes, and it's just being able to say like, I feel like saying it's kind of just unreasonable. I think it's unreasonable. I think
what I mean by that is at the start. So going back to my industry, like PTs, it's so when you're trying to get clients at the start or whatever, when you're coaching people, it's so easy just to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Like at the start when you were first DJing, if you're after gigs and whatnot, would you say yes or no? You used to use an example of going to Stoke on a Friday night and then travelling halfway down to London on a Sunday or Friday, whatever.
On a scooter.
You'd probably be like, yeah, let's do it. Because you at that time you don't really have the capacity to say no because you need it. Whereas now in this position it's a lot easier because there's less pressure there, I guess. You can pick and choose what you want to say yes to.
Yes, that's a good point now where it's like we spoke about this with Kurt that I guess the bigger you get and the more stable financially become, less you have to say yes to. And someone asked me yesterday in my stories, when did you go full time with music? And you saw my reply, I said, I hate this question because it's completely irrelevant. Like you could not compare when I went full time to when it's like you repeat, someone said to you.
It's when you quit Debenhams on it.
Yeah, Cooper's,
that was it.
But it's like someone saying to you, when did you go full time with PT? But like, it's completely irrelevant because if someone's got a car to pay for, a house to pay for, they've got a fucking dog to feed, they've got kids to feed, then obviously going full-time music's you need to get a lot, like your situation has got to be way, way, way more kind of secure.
Person. Yes. I think this now, actually, and I hope we don't come across like this because we're sort of self-employed doing our own thing, but this like, there's been times like these past half year, few months, whatever, where I've been thinking, what the hell am I doing here? Like going self-employed is probably the most terrifying thing I've ever done. And it's ridiculous that it's terrifying because I live at home with my parents. The worst thing that happens is I'm out of a job for a few weeks, and I go and get another one. I'm not out on the street. People who are able to, like say, they've got a family, they've got kids, they've got a house to pay for, mouths to feed, how they take that step.
It's balls, man.
Is really tough.
I think, it's not balls. I think the whole thing to this is like in hindsight, I think going full-time too quickly puts on way too much pressure on yourself, whether it be in any industry.
And it doesn't allow you to perform.
To perform and play. And whether it be going full-time, becoming an architect, whether you go full-time, having your own practitioner, salon, barber, whatever. I think if the customer base it remains the same. The customer base, where the customer be the promoter booking you as a DJ, the customer being the guy that gets the haircut off you, the customer being the guy that gets a plan off you, if that is not there in the slightest and you go full-time, the strain you're going to put on yourself, and then it's going to revert back to your business, and then it becomes this whole thing of like hatred. If you're relying on, if you need to make a fucking banger to put food on the table, it's going to be fucking hard.
Yeah,
I need to increase the chances.
So some people thrive on that, don't they? Some people
they do.
I just
I do think this topic's kind of not controversial, but it's kind of like very specific to people, because for me, I definitely think I liked it in a way that I committed so soon, but then also I think back and think like there was no need to. And
you spoke on your podcast, didn't you, about that turning point when you bought the Mac?
Yeah, that was the SYNTHO thing.
No
that was the SYNTHO thing. Like I had no fucking choice. I spent $6,000 on a computer, right, and I had no fucking choice to make it work. So that accountability of spending that much money, but I reckon a lot of people would have fucking crumbled with that pressure. Not to say I'm anything special, but that in the end, it wasn't that drove me. I had no option because I had to pay for that Mac.
It's the idea of like don't have a plan B because it always gives you a way out.
And that's what I mean.
I'm still undecided if I agree with that.
And then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like if I thought like, is this gonna work? If I didn't think it was gonna work, it probably wouldn't have fucking worked.
Yeah.
But I had no option; it was gonna work. So it's like
you had to make it work. Yeah.
Exactly. So then it comes down to like this whole thing of like, if you quit your job and you think it's gonna work, if you quit your job and you're not sure it's gonna work, the chances are it might not work. But then it's like, is that unrealistic? I think it is, because no one's ever truly sure.
I know we spoke about 9 to 5 before. I'm not like putting down anyway. I think there's a movement at the minute where like see it on social media, like oh, chase your own dreams. Why do you want to work for someone else? But like I said before about going self-employed, it's terrifying. Do you think there's pressure on people that feel like they should go out and do something on their own?
I think so, because I spoke to, I'm going to get them on the podcast, like Muzz and that. We spoke about here once, and I'm sure I'm saying.
We spoke about on that night out.
Yeah, and he said like how he sometimes feels like because he works somewhere, he can't see where to go. But I don't think I think it's so easy for this picture to be painted of this glorified version of working for yourself, but like it comes at different times.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's
I don't think all these narcissists on social media and whatnot putting these stupid quotes up with pictures of Elon Musk in the background saying like, just get out and chase your dreams. There's something to be said for working 9 to 5, having enough money to take care of your family, enough security to be able to pay for a few holidays a year.
Security.
It's a big thing. And it shouldn't be looked down upon.
No, not at all. And I think that's the thing, like, because like Muzz, he's got like a skilled job and it's the security comes with it, and it's got like room for promotions, things, and he enjoys it.
Really well,
and he enjoys it. So it's like each it's so what's the word? It's so specific to each case. But yeah, there's so many, because like for me now, I feel like I said it in the podcast every fucking day. I check the fucking email every fucking day. I've got the responsibility on my head of like, I feel like I've got to deliver something. And that, whereas like if you book 2 weeks off holiday and you tell your fucking PA or whoever, your manager, that I'm going away for 2 weeks Barbados, you can turn your phone off and be gone.
And this is mad as well, innit? Because like we feel the pressure or whatever, and in reality, again, coming back to it, what's the worst that happens? We still haven't got a roof over our head. We go and get another job. Exactly.
So we're so lucky there. I think that's the one benefit of yesterday's podcast. I spoke with Luke Van Dyke, DJ Young, and I spoke about, do you think the advantages of being young in the scene? I think the advantages for us being young, pursuing what we're pursuing, is we've got that. We still live at home, fortunately.
I think as well, because I know you get a lot of questions about like time to make music and when's the best time to make it, and you always say, just go and make at night after loads, come home and make a half an hour track. I don't know if like your audience thinking, I need more time to devote to this, which then causes them
to think
to do nothing.
Yeah, that's the problem. People think by having more time, by quitting the job, they'll be able to pursue their dream even more.
Then you've got other pressures, and then you've got other things to worry about. But coming back to that, it's like, well, what's the smallest thing you can commit to each day? Like, can you get home after work and work 30 minutes on a track or whatever you guys do on production each day, 5-6 times a week, as opposed to thinking, well, I'd rather do 2 hours. And I can't do 2 hours, so I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
It's the same with fitness. People think, I can't work out for an hour, I can't work out for an hour and a half, I can't hit this amount of steps. So they think, well, what's the point then?
Yeah, I think people always, it's about the YouTube thing, and I said it to you. I think I said in the podcast, like, go and do an upload every fucking day for a month. And I think with the podcast thing, it's like, right, I want the podcast to do well. I was kind of saying on YouTube, on the story earlier this year, that like there was, like, it's crazy thing, I've only got 850 followers. Like, it's crazy.
The work you have to do for it.
The work. And then it's like, right, go and do a fucking podcast every week for 2 years, and then see what happens. And then judge it. But it's the same with making music. It's the same with like being a PT. Just go and get like X amount of clients and do it for this long, and then see what happens. Always need the stability. But I think a common problem is not just doing it consistently enough, long enough. And it's kind of, I feel like this has been the boring topic of lockdown, but it still remains the most powerful thing yet. Is just consistently do something for a long period of time. And I said it on last week's thing that most people can't do something day in, day out for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
never mind.
You don't see instant reward.
Never mind 8 years.
Yeah. That's why bad habits don't serve you, that are so like easy to do, because the reward's instant. With our good habits don't serve us. We have to wait. We have to delay. And waiting for that feedback or whatever is tough. I don't know if you saw when James Smith was doing his Q&A the other day, someone asked him, what are you known for? And he put a picture and he said, I was the guy that posted every day on social media for 2 years.
Yeah.
And that was back when he had like 1,000 followers or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it is, like, so it's a boring topic, but consistency and just being prepared to do things over and over and over again and wait for the potential reward. See it all the time in fitness, like, oh, I've ate well for a week and nothing's happened. It's like, come on.
I don't know. It's so hard because I feel like people don't get it. That's why I always say it. People still don't get it. They actually don't get how things happen, and it's consistently doing it for a long period of time. But then people kind of say
nothing extreme.
I know it's
just what's the smallest thing you can do that move the needle consistently over and over again.
But that's what I've learned about investing as well. It's like good investing is boring and bad investing is exciting because that just explains that, like,
instant reward.
The what's the word? The volatility of whatever you're investing in, going up and down might feel exciting, but if you invest in an index fund for 30 years, £1,000 a month, it equates to 1.1 million through compounding.
I think that's going back to
that sounds boring.
Yeah, it's going back to, right, why are you investing? So this can be applied to anything. Well, I'm not. Are you investing for the buzz of investing and like the emotions that you up and down? Probably not. You're investing to make money long term. Yeah. So it's like, we'll do the thing that does that. Don't get tempted by the short term reward.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, it's that exciting going up and down. Always try and think with whatever you're doing, why am I doing this? And keep going back to that. If you can answer that question honestly, everyone knows what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Just keep thinking that question, why I'm doing what I'm doing. It becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, and don't practice what you don't want to become.
Don't practice what you don't want to become.
So fucking, that quote is just the ultimate game changer. So one thing I was going to ask you about is, what do you think of £3 coffees? What are you actually? Yeah. What? No, but I was thinking this today because I think I said it a while ago on something or wrote in a newsletter. But like, I think it's a genuine topic where I've got quite strong feelings towards it. But what do you think of £3 coffees? Are you thinking
about like these people that post like, we're prepared to spend 20 quid on coffee a week, but you're not prepared to do this?
Yeah, but I just think like the value they bring to you, and like the small win, the small pleasure, the small feeling of it. What are you actually? Because I know like I feel like there's a thing where it's like, it's a waste of money spending this much money on coffee. But if you spend £3 on coffee 5 days a week, that's what? 15 quid a week. Well, that's what, 60 quid a month times by 12.
620 a year.
It's not even £1,000, is it?
No.
Right? And if that brings you pleasure every single fucking day, I do not see.
Yeah, this is a really interesting topic. Yeah.
I just don't get it. People would get painted this picture, right? I think it's all like an adult's thing, the older generation thing. That they don't see the value in the moment itself.
Yeah, it's all about saving.
Saving to do what? To retire when you're 65 and then enjoy it.
It's going to contribute what we just talked about.
I know it is. Yeah, it is.
But no, it's good about, because obviously you can't. It's not all about like enjoying the moment instantly, because there are things that you have to delay. I think we actually spoke about this during the first lockdown, didn't we? Because there's times during the week, and especially during lockdowns, I got more into the habit of going out each morning for coffee. And we all remember going to the shops was the most exciting thing of our day when we were only allowed out once a day. And like I said, the joy that brings you in the moment, would you trade that for an extra 720 quid at the end of the year? I mean, what are you going to do with that? Most people would, because they're saving for a holiday or something. Okay, you get 2 weeks joy.
That's such a good point.
Where I think, like every Thursday morning and every Monday morning when my missus stays over, we go out, we wake up, we have a dead chill morning, we go and walk to Costa or the coffee shops are available, and we get a coffee, and in that hour and a half is so relaxed, and I wouldn't change that for the world. I don't care if I'm spending 20, 25 quid. I know that's a privileged position if I've got that money to spend, but it applies to everything else as well. Yeah, would I be much happier at the end of the year with an extra 720 quid in my bank account?
We're speaking like this podcast from just like a first world perspective. Obviously, like realistically, people aren't going to be donating the £3 every single day to a more like important cause. We're still just realistically, like, I think it's so easy to think that I know it does contradict what we're saying, but just in that moment of having a coffee, like I just saw your coffee and I thought, it's the highlight of my day, or every other day when I go to go and get a coffee. I
think that's become more apparent now since we lost our exercise freedom in lockdown. Like, I think we undervalued going out and being able to do things massively. But like I said, I wouldn't change them 2 days, and I wouldn't change walking out to the shops with, even if I got on my own with a podcasting or whatever. I wouldn't change that for any amount of money at the end of the world. Yeah, at the end of the year, sorry.
On Sunday, I went.
Within reason.
Yeah, I went on Sunday. Right, the sun was shining. Sober weekend. I put the Calendar podcast on. Went and got a Costa Americano.
Everyone go listen to that podcast.
I know. We'll link it below. I got a Costa Americano. I actually don't. Costa, other coffee shops are available, but I think I prefer. I support independent coffee shops.
Go on, what's your favourite coffee?
Well, I always go Nero because on Tuesdays you get a free one with O2. And you get stamps, so every 9 you get a free one. So like, economies of scale. You're getting a free coffee every 9, so it's only every 2 weeks I'm getting a free coffee. Well, I'm getting two. I'm getting 2 because I'm getting the free one on Tuesdays. But yeah, I think on a side point, support the local ones. There's a new local one in Wilmslow, that Friends with Coffee or something.
Mm-hmm. There's Rise as well, isn't there?
I think support local ones, not the big chains. But so Sunday morning, simple pleasure in life. Sun was shining. Did a 10k walk, coffee, podcast. Sat on a bench at the Commons, took it all in.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like, I was like, there was actually nowhere in the world I'd rather have been, which is true bliss.
Yeah. It's coming back to it, and people say like you're spending money on other things, but is that worth? Is that any more rewarding than each day? A little bit of happiness each day. And as weird as that sounds, that probably sounds stupid. So I think drinking a coffee each day is happiness, but it's like when you see older people just going and sitting in coffee shops, the newspaper.
I get it completely. I know. I get it. I didn't get it.
That's why we know we're getting old.
I just didn't get it for a bit. I was like, I just didn't get coffees. Why would you go and spend that much money on a coffee? But
it's not even the coffee.
It's not the coffee. That's what it is. That's what I failed to mention here. Yeah. It's not the coffee. It's like taking that moment to go and do something. It doesn't have to be coffee you do, I guess. It can be anything. But I think coffee is like what we said about the sleep.
Get a bottle of water or whatever.
It's like the sleep thing, innit? Like, you're not mark that point. Then you switch off. I feel like when you mark that point, you get the coffee. It just feels like just doing something and being mindful.
What was that quote where it's like, you can't be
happy drinking, you can't be happy drinking a coffee.
You're not going to be happy drinking a coffee sat on a yacht.
Yeah.
If you can't find happiness in a sat and drinking a coffee, you won't find it sat drinking coffee on a yacht.
So to round up, we spoke some good points there. The 3 main points we've talked about is the partying thing, which kind of got us going to the phone thing, then the going self-employed thing, and finish with some coffee.
Some coffee talk.
But I think we could just wrap it up there. I reckon we'll do like a series. Maybe we'll come up with some kind of name. If anyone wants to look at more of your stuff, Instagram's
probably best. Facebook too, but I know Instagram's probably more popular. So at BYB Coaching _. Like I say, follow Josh. He shares my stuff all the time, which is very kind of him. So yeah, and I'm on there probably too much. Maybe next time we should talk about your Ironman and maybe the 100k. So we could do something a bit more about you next time. I feel like this hopefully people click on and watch you. The next time they'll click on and watch because of what we're going to talk about, what's put in the thumbnail. Next time they might be interested to actually know a bit more about you and your story. Yeah, that'd be great. That's cool. Peace out. Thanks for watching, guys.